Good show. Good show. Hello, YouTube! Thank you for joining us again for another episode of Gwyntomology.
So, you decided you wanted to get a pet tarantula,
Gecko,
mantis,
snake,
jumping spider.
cockroach.
Now what?
In this video, we're going to go over a few of those things. We're going to tell you how to learn about your animal, and we're going to tell you places you can get your new animal. So stay tuned.
So kids, have mom and dad leave the room for just a minute.
We've got some things to share with just the kids.
You too, Dad.
Huh? Me too?
Yeah.
Okay. Winnie Maya.
So, let's say you want to get a pet cockroach. You don't know if your parents will let you. Do you hear that? So the best thing that you can do is do research on it. Learn all you can about the animal. Weird. When you ask your parents will give you a list of reasons of why you're not ready for them, and every time you'll have a response. Okay, kids, have your parents come back in the room now. Dad!
All right, so what were we talking about?
What were you doing?
What do you mean? Oh, I was wrestling.
With who?
Maya,
Who won?
let's not talk about it.
Go,
So, if
go
we...
change.
Do I have to?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be right back.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry you had to see that. This is embarrassing.
Okay, sorry about that. So, what were we doing before I went to play with the cat?
We are talking about researching.
Oh, that's good. Do you have a twitch?
I have something in my eye.
Oh, okay. Alright. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. So, you've decided you want a pet. And it's not a cat or a dog, but you want something a little bit different. So where can you go to learn about those animals?
One great resource for finding out about an animal are books.
Books are great. Here are a couple of our favorites that we like to use. This is a field guide, and a field guide is animals based on location, and this one's all about insects and spiders of North America. So it's divided up in types of bug or types of spider. We use it quite a bit when we're going outside and looking for bugs and spiders so we can identify what we're looking at. My favorite book is The Book of the Spider, and it's a fascinating read all about the history of spiders, their interaction with humans, our psychology, thinking about spiders, why we're so afraid of spiders, where the name tarantula comes from. Hint, it has to do with a dance. Crazy. Also, there's big picture books, just like this one. We have a wolf spider here, laying an egg sac. We have lots of little baby spiders, and it's just really an interesting book about spiders. Look at that face. Adorable.
Another source of information are magazines.
Reptiles magazine is a favorite of ours. There's magazines covering the whole spectrum of animals. They're a great resource, and they're fun to go look at. One of my favorites actually has an iPad app, and it's called Ultimate Exotics. The good thing about that one is even though it's mostly geared towards reptiles and amphibians, every issue has a section about tarantulas or other invertebrates, and so it's a fun read.
And of course, the internet is a great resource.
There's a few different places you can look online. The first being specific websites for your type of animal. Just do a Google search. You'll come across all kinds of information about your specific animal that you want to learn about. Let's take a look. A great thing about the internet is whatever type of animal you're interested in, there's probably a community dedicated to that kind of animal.
Here's a few of the forums that we know of on the internet. One of them is Arachnoboards, where there's people that are happy to tell you information and stories about spiders.
There's also places geared towards amphibians. Somewhere like Dendroboards is a great resource for amphibians.
For reptiles, good forum is kingsnake.com.
One of the good things about having a whole community where everybody's sharing information is that, generally speaking, people are sharing good information because whatever they share, there's other people to either back up their information or disagree. And if you're having a specific experience with your pet that you don't understand, those are a great place to go to find out exactly what's happening with your pet. And of course, YouTube. It's great. It's where we learned probably the most to start out for caring for our animals. And since you're already here, you're already learning, I probably don't have to spend much time telling you about that.
Just remember, when you're on the internet, there are people that will give you bad information.
Just beware on the internet.
One of the resources that we use a lot to find out a lot of our stuff are trusted experts.
It's really good. Once you find a few places online that have good information, that you know is good information, you can go back to those places to ask questions and learn even more. One of my favorites online, especially with tarantulas, is Tom Moran at Tom's Big Spiders. Whenever I have a question about a tarantula, I go look it up on his site. Whenever I need to find out about care, I go look it up on his site. He's a fantastic resource about different types of tarantulas. His videos are fantastic. So Tom, if you're seeing this, thank you so much.
Another trusted expert is Peter from Bugs in Cyberspace.
Peter is the man. There's no way around it. When it comes to invertebrates, insects, and all kinds of spiders, he is the king. Here's a little secret. You can go to his website, Bugs in Cyberspace, and look at all the fantastic animals that he has to offer. We order tons of animals from him. In fact, I'd say probably close to half of our collection comes from Bugs in Cyberspace. Here's a little hint, a little bit of a secret. If you don't see it available, send Peter an email and ask. Sometimes I'll send an email to Peter asking if he's ever seen an animal for sale that I haven't seen for sale. So like our warrior beetle, for example, I've never seen a warrior beetle for sale on his website, but we have one, and that's where we got it. And by the way, he is awesome. So Peter, thank you so much for all the help you've been to us.
We'll put all of the links for those websites down in the description, so you can check them out there.
Well, this is an animal show, and since it is an animal show, how about we show some animals? What do you say it's time for a Millie Break? Right here, this is Millie. So take a quick look at this little video we made of Millie. That was pretty fantastic. Don't you agree? Mm-hmm. Pretty cool.
So the number one question we get when we're sharing an animal with someone is, where do you get the animal?
So we'll go through a couple of these places that we get animals and tell you about them. Number one, most obvious, is pet stores. They're called pet stores for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So there's some good things and some bad things about buying animals at pet stores.
First, there's limited options at big pet stores.
If you're looking for a bearded dragon baby or a leopard gecko or parakeet, then you're probably in luck. You probably find what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a millipede or a jumping spider, you're probably out of luck at a pet store. Another problem with pet stores is that you can't really be too sure about how well the animals are being taken care of most of the time.
For example, one time we went to a pet store and we saw a snake that seemed to be having some problems. It wasn't moving and it looked like there was a cricket that was trying to eat it. So I went up to one of the employees and asked them what was wrong with the snake.
I don't know how long this snake had been in poor health, but the people that worked there didn't have any idea that this snake was having problems.
Wait a minute. Why was there a cricket in there in the first place?
The employee actually told us that sometimes they give their baby snakes crickets. Terrible.
Poor snake.
Poor snake is right. So they took the snake out and said that they would call the vet in the morning. We like to think that we helped save that snake, but there's really just no way of knowing. So I've developed a little trick to tell whether or not I can trust the person at the pet store that I'm talking to.
Well, you've already done your research, so you can ask one of the employees a question that you already know the answer to.
That can go one of 4 ways. So we'll do a little role play to show you how it can go. All right? All right. So what can you tell me about when a leopard gecko sheds?
Well, it all comes off at once, and then they eat it.
That sounds really interesting. Thanks for that information. So, the first way it can go is the employee knows what they're talking about. That's the right answer. So, let's see how this goes this time. So, what can you tell me about how a leopard gecko sheds?
It comes off in little pieces, and then we clean it out. That's why the shed's not in there.
Wrong answer. Way number 2 that it can go is that the employee just doesn't know what they're talking about, thinks they know what they're talking about, and is using the information that they know about some other animal. For example, that's how a bearded dragon sheds. A bearded dragon sheds with little pieces of scales coming off, and they don't eat them. All right, let's try it again. So, what can you tell me about how a leopard gecko sheds?
I don't know. I'll have to ask someone else about it.
All right, so that's the third way that it can go. The person doesn't know the answer, but they are happy to find out the information for you. At least when you ask this person a question, you know that what they're telling you is probably correct, because if they don't know, they're happy to say that they don't know. All right, let's try it one more time. So what can you tell me about how a leopard gecko sheds? Okay. Weird. Could have sworn there was a person here I was talking to. All right. So those are the 4 ways that it can go. I've actually never had somebody disappear on me completely, but it could probably happen. So pet stores can be a little bit hit or miss.
So for those of us who are lucky enough to live in Spokane, Washington area, we have a great pet store.
The store's called Howley's. If you're ever in the Spokane area, you need to go visit. If I lived in Montana or Idaho or Seattle, well worth the drive. They keep great care of their animals. They always have really different and interesting animals. We end up going there probably...
Can we go now?
Not now. Maybe after the video. Gwyn basically wants to live there. We're thinking about just getting her a cage to stay there.
Please.
And quite a few of our animals have come from there as well.
So another great place to find animals that you want to keep are reptile shows.
So one of the great things about going to a reptile show is that There's so many options. You're not only going to find reptiles at a reptile show either. Sometimes you'll find invertebrates like tarantulas and other spiders like brown recluses, or sometimes you'll find millipedes, or sometimes you'll even find
tiny little kitties and piggies.
Sometimes you'll see pigs. You'll see all kinds of animals often at reptile shows. So they're a great thing to go to, even if you're not interested in buying an animal, just to go see all of the crazy, unique, cute animals like tortoises that are this big.
Another great thing about reptile shows is that the prices are really low.
Much lower than you're going to be able to find online or at a pet store, because you're dealing directly with the breeder. There's no middleman that has to make money on the transaction.
Sometimes they'll even give you an extra good deal, like our friend Jonah selling him arachnids.
One of the things we've had success with at going to reptile shows is that we get to build a relationship with some of these breeders, and in doing so we get to learn about all of these animals. The breeders who are there manning their booths, they're the ones who have kept these animals. So if you have a very specific question, you don't have to use our pet store trick with them, because you know they know what they're talking about. Hit Google up and just do a search for reptile shows in your area and see when one is coming to your town. Last is online. There's some good things and some bad things about buying animals online. First, there's an amount of trust that has to go on when you're purchasing an animal online. Read reviews for the website that you're buying them from to see if you can trust them. The good thing is there are endless options. Almost any animal you're looking for is available online. If it's legal to be bought and sold, it's probably available online.
A downside about buying things online is that you can't see the animal.
The other downside is that shipping is very expensive. Depending on where you live and what the weather's like, they have to heat pack or cold pack an animal, and most likely you're going to be shipping it next day or 2-day air, depending on where you're purchasing the animal from. And that can get very expensive. As far as our favorite places to go, there is none better than Bugs in Cyberspace. In fact, push pause, go to the link where it says Bugs in Cyberspace and just go take a look and see what there is. Of course, the last place we'll talk about today, about where to get an animal, is somewhere everybody has. Gwen, where is that?
Outside.
You have animals all around you. Bugs and insects and spiders that are really interesting. And it's cool to be able to go out and view them in their natural habitat and see what they do. We've been really lucky in some of our searches to go find some really neat animals. For example, our black widow spider, right there. Ow! Just kidding. We'll talk about a black widow in future episodes. So just go around and take a look and see what you can find.
So hopefully that clears up some questions that you might have had about where to learn about animals and where to get the animals.
And that brings us to our question of the day. The question of the day today comes from Haley Smith down in the comments from our last YouTube video, episode 1. And the question, Gwen, is, what animal is on your wish list? And I know that's a long list, but why don't you give me one invertebrate and one reptile?
So, an invertebrate that I want is the giant African millipede.
We've been lucky enough to hold them when going to a reptile show, and they are super cool. What about a reptile?
Probably a rhino iguana.
We have a long-standing debate. I don't think they're cute. I think they're awesome. And Gwen thinks,
I think they're cute.
I would love to have one too. For me, invertebrate would be a jungle nymph. I think they're so cool. They're just impossible to find. And for a reptile, mine would be either a Gila monster or a beaded lizard. I think those are so amazing.
I would
So
also
cool.
want one of those.
All right, that's it for episode 2 of Gwentomology. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching. Remember,
Go down in the comments and ask us more questions that we might answer in a future video. While you're at it, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and hit the notification bell.
so until next time, don't be afraid.
Be be educated.
We'll see you next time.